Good morning, students. Today we are continuing with our review of literature class. In the previous class, we have discussed mainly about uh, how to write a review of literature. What are the important tips we have to remember for writing a review of literature? And the methodology of writing a review of literature and different styles used for writing review of literature. Today we are going to discuss mainly about two systems widely used for reviewing literature. First system, we call it as a Cochrane libraries. Why? Because we are studying these two systems. In your syllabus these two things are given. That is why we are giving more importance to these two systems, whereas there are so many other libraries and databases are there. Cochrane is actually a database of systematic review. We call it as a Cochrane reviews, contain peer-reviewed systematic reviews and protocols. So this is a library system that is existing in US, where they have textbook journal sections and online database systems are there. So which is a very wide big library which mainly do the peer reviewed articles, and the systematic reviews are done for all the articles that are published worldwide. And the database of abstract of review of effects is called as the DARE, that is a database abstract reviews of effects. This is a subsection of Cochrane. This contains abstract and summary of reviewed articles. So if you look at the DARE, you will get only the abstract, that is a small version, or what is the core content of the research article, and the whole summary of the reviewed articles. So this we will get from DARE. So that's called as the database abstract and review system. Then there is another subsection called the Central. I mean, if you are taking the website, you can click on the Central. Central means the Cochrane Central Register of Controlled Trials. So these are giving informations only about the controlled trials. It can be a drug trial, vaccine trial, or any other trials that is done by different scientists on different aspects of the topics on different subjects. So this contains details of published articles in several journals, books, and even unpublished database also included in the Central. Then the Cochrane Methodology Register is another thing. This is a bibliography of publication. So this mainly serves as a bibliography for a reference purpose. We will get the information about the reference publication from Cochrane Methodology Register. Then another subsection is called HTA, that is a Health Technology Assessment Database, HTA, which contains details of medical, social, ethical, and economic implications of healthcare interventions. So this section deals only with that, about the implications of healthcare interventions. What are the important implications? Medical implications, social implications, ethical implications, and economic implications. The National Health Service Economic Evaluation Database, that is NHS, is the National Health Service of United States of America. So NHS Economic Evaluation Database is also will get from Cochrane Library System. This is a systematically identifies and appraises economic evaluations. So that's about the Cochrane database. And one more point I would like to mention about the Cochrane is that the South Indian Cochrane Library is situated, the nodal center is situated at Christian Medical College Hospital, Vellore. So they serves as the South Indian Nodal Office of Cochrane Library in India. Now CINAHL, we have discussed previously what is CINAHL. This is the nursing allied health literature, that is a cumulative index to nursing and allied health literature. So even when we discuss about the indexing system, I have mentioned that there are keywords important for manual search also. So how this is becoming important is this in relation to CINAHL. CINAHL is actually reviewing all the nursing articles and related articles published all over the world in English or accepted languages, and they will arrange, classify in the alphabetic order, that is a subject wise and the author wise, and they will list down all the articles published. So that's what done by CINAHL. Now we look into some of the historical aspect of the CINAHL also. So this CINAHL is an index of journal article published throughout the world, as I mentioned. More than 3,000 journal articles published in English and selected other language about nursing, allied health, biomedicines and healthcare is indexed in CINAHL. So this was started in the year 1940 as a card index of articles from nursing journals. It started as a card index. So this was started by three persons: Ella Crandall, Mildred Granbios and Molly Sittner. So they three together, nursing personnel, started this indexing in the card form. In a card they started indexing. So this index was first published as Cumulative Index of Nursing Literature, CINAHL, in 1961. The name was changed to Cumulative Index to Nursing and Allied Health Literature in the year 1977 to include articles from biomedicine, health science, librarianship, alternative and complementary medicine and consumer health. The online publication was started from the year 1984. So in addition, CINAHL offers access to healthcare books, nursing dissertations, selected conference proceedings. There are so many conferences conducted, and the papers presented in the conferences, they will publish as conference proceedings. These are the important valuable documents which give a lot of information. So these selected conference proceedings also will be published in CINAHL. Then the standards of practice. Many hospitals, many health services, they publish standards. So this is the policies. These are the standards for doing these procedures or treatment. So the standards of practices also will be published. Then educational softwares, audiovisuals and book chapters are also published in CINAHL. So this database contains more than 2 to 6 million records dating back to 1981. So these are some of the informations taken from Wikipedia about CINAHL. So this, as I mentioned, now the present cost of CINAHL will come around 5 lakhs rupees per year. And this contains the printed versions are there and the online versions also there. Printed version itself will come to around 5 to 10 books, big books, which contain, for example, A, B itself there is one book is there, maybe C, D, E, F, G, maybe the second book. So all the articles that are published related to nursing and allied health throughout the world in English will be categorized according to the alphabetical order. That is also subject wise and author wise. For example, if I want to search an article about AIDS, so you take alphabet A, maybe the first volume, and just turn the pages and see AIDS. You can see heading AIDS. Under that heading all the articles that is published in 2020 and 20 is what 2019. You can see all the articles that are published. So that is a subject wise. Then otherwise also it is given maybe the sixth volume. If you want to search an article published by, for example, George et al. So take G, which book starting with the G, and search for the author George et al. And you will get the George et al. Is published this article in this journal, in this edition, in this page number. So all the details will be there. So our reading job is simplified by CINAHL. Just you can identify in which journal, in which month, in which page number this article is published. So just go to the library, take that and read. This is as simple as searching in the internet. This is as so all the process as simplified by CINAHL. So this is what is done by CINAHL in simple words. So that's CINAHL. Then one more thing is that about the PubMed. PubMed is the most commonly used literature search engine at present is a PubMed libraries. So PubMed itself is a training program is there about how to use PubMed. And if you type PubMed, you will get the website of the PubMed library, that is also an US based library. So you can log into their account and you can create a username and password. Then they have a lot of database called Dash database, and all the articles or authoritative articles related to medical sciences including nursing is available in PubMed, and the whole article is there. Abstracts are there, with the payment and without payment free articles are there. And actually we had to pay for PubMed, but by considering India as a developing country, at present they are giving free of cost all the articles to people in India. And how to search PubMed article, author-wise and year-wise, publisher-wise, then article-wise. There are so many options are there. And once you search, automatically you can create an account, and in your account information about the newer article will come. Latest article that is published related to this topic, you will get information. You can store this information in your login ID, and you can share this information to your teachers, friends, etc. about this article. There are so many options are there in PubMed, and that is the most authoritative medical literature search at present. What we have is a PubMed. So PubMed is also an important, and the tutorial is also available if you type www.pubmed.com. you will get all the informations related to PubMed also. Now these are the three important things that I have discussed. Now we are going to an entirely different topic called variable. A variable is a term that commonly we use in research. So what is a variable? Variables are any quality of a subject that varies or assume different values. So that is the exact meaning of variable. Take for example age. In your class, if you are taking third year BSc nursing students, if I am asking one student what is your age, you may tell that maybe 19 years. Second person also 19 years. Third person also say that 19 years. Only very few persons, maybe 20 or 21. But majority of them say that 19 years. So whether that is a variable? Yes, that is a variable, because age, if you consider 19 and 20, whereas indefinite values are there. It can be 19 years 1 month, 19 years 1 month 1 day. So a lot of variations are there from one person to another person. Blood pressure, that's also a variable that may vary or take different values in different subjects. That is why we consider this as a variable. Now, as a researcher, we are interested in variables. Why these variations occurring from one subject to another subject? What is the reason for these variations? So that's all our study matter. Okay, so this is variable. So we are studying variables actually. We are measuring variables. That's our data. There are a lot of type of variables are there. When we look in the classification of variable, there are numerous types of variables are there. This is called as the continuous variables, discrete variables, categorical variables, active variables, attribute variables, independent variables, and dependent variables. So these are the different types of variables. Now we'll see one by one. First one is a continuous variable. Now what is a continuous variable? Continuous variable means if we take two nearby values, between these two nearby values there is indefinite number of values are there. As I mentioned before, it take age. Between two nearby values 19 and 20 years. In between this, there are numerous or indefinite number of values are there. For example, as I mentioned, 19 years 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, and in that also 19 years 1 month 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. That is also 19 years 1 month 1 day, 1 hour, 40 seconds. Numerous indefinite number of values are there between two nearby values. So these type of variables, we call it as a continuous variable. Now what is a discrete variables? Discrete variable means there is a definite number of values. For example, some of the variables like we're taking how many if I'm asking one of my friends or a teacher, how many children do you have? So they will say that either as 1 or 2. There is no decimal values in that. Okay, there is no decimal values. For example, I cannot say that I have 1.5 child, either 1 or 2. That is a definite number. So this type of values we call as the discrete variables. Now third is the categorical variables, which allows minute fluctuations. For example, when you ask about the gender or sex, we'll say that male or female to the latest transgender. So this allows minute fluctuations. So this type of variables we call it as a categorical variables. Now what is active variable? Active variable versus attribute variable. Active variable means a variable that are created or designed by researcher. Whether researcher can create a variable or design a variable? Yes, a researcher can create a variable. For example, in a study we are planning to test the efficacy of a newly developed dentifrice in dental care. In giving mouth care, we have developed a new dentifrice, and we just want to test the efficacy of that. Here this variable is created. Or we found out a new medicine to treat anemia. So we just want to see what is the effect of this particular medicine in reducing anemia. So this medicine is a newly developed, that is a variable that was created or designed by the researcher. So these type of variables we call as a active variable. Now what is an attribute variable? Means is the one that cannot be changed by the researcher. So those type of variables which cannot change or alter by the researcher we call as a attribute variables. For example, if a person's height, we cannot change, we cannot reduce or increase the height of a person by cutting the leg or head or etc. So this is an attribute variables. Weight of a person, intelligence of a person. So all these things are the attribute variables. This cannot be changed by the researcher. Now okay, these are all the variables, but the most important variable for in a research study and for a researcher is the independent variable and dependent variable. So we always write in the research which is my independent variable, which is our dependent variable. So we have to identify. So first we will see what is the difference between independent variable and dependent variable. Independent variable means a quality of a subject which is not dependent on others but cause changes in other variables. Okay, so that we call as an independent variable. So independent variable will not change at all. This remain as unchanged. Okay, whereas quality of the subject which is not dependent on others, this will not depend at all. For example, if you're taking a family as an example, the house head of the family or the father in the family, he is the breadwinner of the family. Okay, he is an independent variable. All children, sometimes if the wife who is not having any job, are all dependent on father. So father is an independent variable, is not dependent on others. Okay, so but causes change in other variables. If some changes occurs in father, means if he becomes sick, is not going for job for a long period of time, or due to corona shutdown, not going for a job, so that change in the independent variable naturally will change all the dependent person, because they will not get all the food, clothes, or lot of things like previously. So this is an independent variable. So we always say that presumed cause in a study is called as a dependent variable. Presumed cause in a study is called as a dependent variable. Independent variable. Now what is a dependent variable? Dependent variable means a variable dependent on the independent variable. So any change in the independent variable will naturally change the dependent variable, as I mentioned before. Any change in the dependent variable naturally, independent variable naturally will change the dependent variable. So it is a presumed effect in a study called a dependent variable. Now smoking causes lung cancer. Okay, so here smoking is the cause, so that is the independent variable. Lung cancer is the effect, so that is the dependent variable. So if a person smokes for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and that is the changes, according to that the effect will vary. So this is why we call as a independent and dependent variable. Now a researcher is always interested in the dependent variable. Clear? A researcher always interested in dependent variable. He always try to measure dependent variable and study dependent variable. So in order to study this, a researcher will change independent variable. Okay, researcher will change a measured change in the independent variable, a definite change in the independent variable, and see what is the effect of this change on the dependent variable. Is it clear? So I'll repeat once more with another example. learning effectiveness in a classroom. I'm studying how, in what optimum condition, what condition students can learn maximum. So two things I'm studying. Okay, just forget one thing I'm studying, that is the temperature in the classroom. So that's what. So a lot of things will affect. Temperature will affect, lighting will affect, external noise will affect, seating arrangement will affect, time of the day, whether afternoon if you are hungry or evening you want to go home. So time of the day will affect. There is a lot of factors. So I'm making all the factors constant, and I'm changing only temperature. So that is the independent variable. All the others are the external variables, the extraneous variables, that I'm keeping it constant, and I'm changing the temperature. So here learning effectiveness is a dependent variable. That's what I am interested. I'm studying on at what temperature the students can study better. So take for example at 20 degrees Celsius, or take 15 degrees Celsius in the cold environment, 15 degrees Celsius, I'm just keeping the temperature of 15 degree, and I'm studying how effectively the students are learning. I'm just measuring, and then I'm increasing the temperature to 20. Again I'm measuring how students are effectively learning, and then I'm increasing the temperature to 25, then to 30, then to 35, then to 40. And finally I can say that this is the measured changes in the independent variable. I'm just gradually changing the temperature, measured changes in the independent variable, and then I'm measuring dependent variable. What is the effect of that measured change in the independent variable? What is the effect on dependent variable? Finally I can say that at this particular temperature the maximum learning occurs. So this is the conducible temperature for learning. So this is my study. So here dependent variable is the most important variable. A researcher is interested, and that will be checked in relation to the independent variable. By altering the independent variable, researcher will alter independent variable consciously and see what is the effect of this change on the dependent variable. Okay, so these are the variables. Again, extraneous variable is also there. So these are the external variables that we are not studying. For example, as I mentioned in the classroom, maybe noise level, seating arrangements are all will affect, but I'm not studying. I'm keeping it as a constant. So these variables which we are not studying at the same time may influence our study is called as the extraneous variable or external variable in a study. So this is the difference between independent variable and dependent variable. I have mentioned once more. I'll repeat. Independent variable not dependent on other variables, whereas a dependent variable is dependent on independent variable. Independent variable is not influenced by changes in other variables, whereas the dependent variable change occurs according to the changes in the independent variable. As I mentioned, independent variable is a presumed cause, whereas a dependent variable is a presumed effect. The researcher manipulates independent variable, whereas the researcher is interested in understanding, explaining, or predicting dependent variable. Independent variable measured interventions are administered in the independent variable, whereas the relative changes in the dependent variables are measured. So that is a comparison between independent variable and dependent variable, and this variable also can be asked as a short note. Again, the Cochrane library, CINAHL, because it is there in the syllabus, can be asked as a short note. Again, you have to remember to read and write a note about the PubMed library also. Now next is a hypothesis that we'll learn in the next class. So in the next class we'll learn about hypothesis in detail. Okay, we'll stop now for the time being.